Ben Mears has been away too long. And now at last, he's come home.
The men fought at Valley Forge.
Daddy, come back safe.
Home to the childhood memories, to the old familiar faces, to a life unmolested by time.
And with your saints, let him rejoice in your presence forever. We ask it through Christ our Lord, amen.
Home to Salem's Lot. A town too good to be true.
What was that?
Did you happen to notice the time when the boys left?
We shouldn't have gone through the woods.
It's a shortcut.
Well, they should have been here half an hour ago.
Wait! Danny, wait!
Something is happening. Something terrible.
Henry! Where's Ralphie? Ralph.
Where's your brother?
First the kid disappears, then this. You're not leaving Salem's Lot, are you?
I'm not leaving. Don't you understand what's happening?
You?
Yes, I do. It's in the Marston house. Good evening. I dreamed. You slept there all night? Yeah. A little tired. Didn't sleep much last night. I was dreaming. Somebody out there.
Sweet dreams.
I let him in.
Oh, it's only all just happened
Since I came here.
It wasn't a dream.
Stop, holy man! You can do nothing against the master.
They're breeding on one another. The vampires are creating vampires.
The master wants you.
It's a geometric progression. 2 times 2 times 4 times 8.
There's a dead man upstairs.
Bill! Yeah, you know I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil.
Look at me. Ned Tibbetts' body has disappeared from the morgue.
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Bill!
And Susan's in there.
Run! No! Look at him!
Stephen King, the best-selling author of Carrie and The Shining, takes you on a startling journey to Salem's Lot.
Fuck. Jesus Christ, this fucking movie did you fucking Jesus.
You know what? Shut the fuck up. Honestly, shut the fuck up. You guys can go on about the fucking original fucking It. And this is not even as long as that. And you guys are going on about, oh, I can't sleep and all that. Fuck you. Fuck you.
That's one for the outtakes.
No, that's a cold open, it's called.
It's cold open. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Miles, and I'm joined, as always, by Tim Johnson, Josh Lambert. How you guys doing?
Look how fucking red Tim is. He's all amped up.
He is pissed off looking.
He is rosy.
Gentlemen, how's the night going for you?
Oh, just great.
Hmm?
Just great. We just recorded a live episode that had to get fucking deleted for some reason, and I'm getting roasted because of the movie choice I picked for tonight. Yeah, it's just great. Got yelled at a bank. Awesome. Great fucking day. Great fucking day.
Tim, we love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see, Tim. You'll see. We love you. It's all good. But Tim, that being said, why don't you tell us about this movie?
We didn't even fucking say that what we were talking about.
No, we didn't.
So go ahead, Adam. Fucking tell everybody. What are we talking about tonight?
Fine. Tonight, we are talking about the original, made-for-TV, Salem's Lot.
By Stephen King.
Yes.
By Stephen King.
By Stephen King.
Horror.
1979.
Yep. It was definitely in 1979.
This came up, the reason why we're doing this movie is because this came up due to the fact that they are actually going to be filming what was originally titled Jerusalem's Lot, the prequel to Salem's Lot, which if you've watched the movie, you understand that Jerusalem's Lot was actually the name of Salem's Lot before some sort of like a war era type of situation happened where it, became renamed and taken over. But they were going to be filming the prequel series here in Nova Scotia under the name Chapelwaite. But that's all been pushed off. So in honor of that, we decided to go back and kind of invest some time into the world that Stephen King has spun, known as Salem's Lot, the infamous Salem's Lot. So Timothy.
What?
Is it infamous though?
It is.
Was it postponed due to Corona nonsense, or was it postponed prior?
No, Corona nonsense.
Okay.
Corona nonsense. It's just everything under productions because of the amount of people required to be on set and everything else. It's all been pushed off. So, yeah. So,
Tim,
but no, this is infamous though. Like, let's not beat around that. This movie appears on a lot of people's lists. It gets multiple re-releases all the time. The movie gets talked about nonstop in the vampire movie, fan film review groups and shit like this. But it's, all right, Tim. Do you have a synopsis for us?
I do. It's long.
Go for it.
All right. Okay. The 1979 Salem's Lot by Stephen King and directed by Tobe Hooper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Adam's talking shit about his fucking... I got nothing. Okay, the synopsis. The successful writer Ben Mears returns to his hometown, Salem's Lot, Maine, expecting to write a new novel about the Marston House. Ben believes that the manor is an evil house that attracts evil men, since the place has been the site of many tragic stories, and Ben saw a ghostly creature inside the house when he was 10. Ben finds that Marston House has just been rented to an antique dealer, Richard K. Straker, and his partner, Kurt Barlow. Ben meets a divorced teacher, Susan Norton, who was played by fucking, what's her name from Die Hard? Bruce Willis's wife from Die Hard. I can't remember her name.
Bonnie Bedelia? Is that who it is? Yeah.
No, but I was trying to think of her
Character.
Gennaro. Her name from the movie.
Holly Gennaro.
Holly Gennaro, thank you. Ben also gets close to Susan's father, Dr. Bill Norton, and former high school teacher Jason Burke. When people start to die, Ben believes that Straker's partner is a vampire. But how to convince his friends that he's not crazy and that this is all the truth. Salem's Lot, 1979.
Nice. Salem's Lot, 1979.
I almost fell asleep during that synopsis.
I could have picked the smaller one, but I was like, no, these guys love this story so much. It's fucking 3-hour fucking story. I'll give them what they want. A long
Give the people what they want. That's right.
3-hour-long synopsis for a 3-hour-long fucking movie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into the story here for a few minutes, guys. I mean, Tim, why don't you talk a little bit more about the story if you want?
Well, to basically defend the fact that it was 3 hours long. It was originally a 2-part miniseries that was put on ABC back in November of '79. But the problem was the way that the book is laid out, which is very much close to how the movie was he arrives in town, you get to know the characters, some plot gets fucking going, and then all the vampire shit happens at the end. But the problem was what's the point of putting these 2 movies out, these 2-part movies, where nothing really fucking happens in the first one? So what they did was they rearranged some stuff and then put in a shit ton of filler. And that's the problem, especially...
You're fucking right, they put in some filler, bud.
How we... Look, like Adam said, I think he said it in the fucking live broadcast, but all about slow burn. I love slow burn shit. I do. But, I mean, there was many times that I was like, oh, what's going on in the world? And I'd pick up my phone and I'd look. So that's basically why it was 3 hours. I remember fucking loving this as a kid. And watching this again, I loved it again. I remember Adam said something smug about fucking rose-colored glasses. Well, fuck you, Adam.
It all makes sense now, yeah.
Right? Fuck you.
He loved it when he was a kid. Here we go.
Did. No, I did. But I watched it very objectively now. Yes, it's boring and it's long and it drags, but the stuff that's in it, like, there's scenes that I still, like, I love.
You just like the reveal. The reveal of the Master Barlow. That's the only scene worth
Mr. Barlow's fucking awesome. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Adam, what do you want me to talk about?
The story itself.
Okay, so I pretty much summed it up in that long synopsis. But, yeah, so what more do you want me to say?
Nothing. There we go. So, okay, so let's keep in mind, everybody, this is, obviously, as we mentioned, this is based on a Stephen King novel. So, the novel itself, I haven't read, but I do remember watching this a long time ago. I just didn't remember a lot about it. So, I went into this movie myself kind of as if it was new. As if I had never seen it before, because I can honestly only barely remember certain things. I remember the makeup effects for the creatures of the night that are created by Barlow. I remember Barlow himself, and I remember scenes from the house itself and the decrepit nature of how things are falling apart and just the scenery and shit like this. But I didn't remember a lot. Like, I couldn't have told you the fucking characters or how the actual story plays out and the whole idea behind the antiquity dealer and everything else. Couldn't have told you shit about it, right? So, talking objectively about the storyline itself here, not thinking about the fact that it was 3 hours fucking long, but the story itself it's not a bad story by any means. Like, I think that I would probably might even prefer to read the actual book at this point. I'm even considering picking up the remake TV miniseries that they did with Rob Lowe as Derek.
It was okay. The remake was okay. It's obviously, if you want the best version of this story, read the book. Obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel that the 79, I feel that it was a mistake that they made making it an hour long segments. I think that this would have worked better as like a mini-series show, like multiple parts that were like, I don't know, 45 minutes long.
45-minute episodes?
Yeah.
That wasn't really big back then either, though, you gotta remember.
No, but I because as boring as it was in parts, I mean, yeah, I watched it all in one big chunk. I'm sure if you sat down back in 79 and watched them in the 2 parts a week apart, it wouldn't have been that bad. But the only way I've ever seen it was, the fucking 3-hour version.
I watched it in 3 separate parts. But It was still pretty boring. I'd like to see a fan edit where they cut it down to an hour 20.
Take all the cats out of the windows, as they would call it, the filler, right? Cat in the windows, and throw it out to the fucking wayside. This movie could have worked very well, in my opinion, as an hour and a half.
Yep.
Like, they could have actually done a pretty decent fucking movie from the late 70s in about an hour and a half. And I wouldn't be surprised if there is an edit out there doing that.
And see, that's the thing that really bogs this down is that, like, it's not horribly acted. The special effects are actually really good for 1979. Like, Barlow is an amazing looking vampire.
Yep.
Like that Nosferatu kind of vampire. When that kid shows up at the window, fucking floating, getting in, that's creepy as fuck. And I'm 40 years old and it still creeped me out. Right? But I mean, when you get into the actual story, like, I don't know. I mean, I tip my hat to the fact that they decided to try to put as much material into this movie as possible. But watching this obviously in 2020, it's very draggy. And I mean, I said the same thing about it.
Yeah. Our attention spans are too short right now. 2020, we don't have time to. And it's like 8 fucking little mini stories about the town going on. It's like Buddy's wife getting plowed by her boss, and
I thought that was great.
But it wasn't just anybody that she was getting plowed with. It was Fred Willard.
Right?
Yeah, Fred fucking Willard. It was amazing.
I just kept thinking about Anchorman or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, I expected him to keep doing shit, right?
Did he do like fucking commercials for Triscuits or something? I have in my mind this fucking image of him just sitting on like a white background eating Triscuits or Crispers or something.
He did a whole bunch of shit. That man was popular forever. He did a bunch of shit like that, man. He was just like, fuck it, we're gonna sell Rice Krispies. Get Fred Willard in here.
Yeah.
So, the story.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll admit it's a good vampire trope story. It plays well to the fact a very classic, styled and even kind of modernized for its time vampire film or story. Let's say, it played well to the original tropes of how Dracula got around in a coffin being shipped, basically. Right. Yep. He had somebody who was doing his bidding for him. Right, to get him from place to place and to supply him with people when he was weak and shit like this. Like, a lot of this was great. And then when he starts getting his quote unquote children of the night, so his vampire underlings that are transformed, you've got some creepy aspects to the fact that they're spreading out and they're contaminating other people and biting and feeding and everything else. So in terms of actual vampire driven storyline, it's good. It's got all the stuff that you want to see in there. My biggest issue with this movie, and I don't know how it compares to the book, is that Barlow was nowhere near on the screen as much as he fucking should have been.
No.
Barlow was fucking kick-ass. Best part of the whole movie was actually the Count himself. And
that's the whole reason why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to talk about Barlow. And I mean, we were talking, I think, in one of our live episodes about, the whole Nosferatu
Doug Jones
movie.
Doing Nosferatu.
Yeah. And this kind of sparked, I think the creepiest version of Nosferatu I've seen to date was Mr. Barlow. Only because he made the impression on me, because I couldn't understand how they got his eyes to glow and like the contacts back as a kid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, you got anything to add about the story?
I really like Barlow as well, his character design, but he was kind of a bitch.
He was kind of a bitch.
He went out like a bitch too.
Yeah, like his highlight. Like his most death scenes at a moment was he took 2 boomers and cranked their heads together and they just died. I'm like, huh.
Oh yeah.
Did you just call them boomers?
Yeah.
You're talking about the kids' parents.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Cranked them and they're dead.
Well, the first time that you actually really see Barlow on screen, he just kind of jumps out of nowhere.
Yep.
That first scene, I've seen that. Okay, so I've never seen this movie until yesterday when we watched it. But I've seen that image, Barlow, hundreds of times and never had a context to put it where it belonged in what movie or anything like that.
Yeah.
And now I do.
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Absolutely. So, okay, so let's jump up past the storyline here and talk a little bit more about the characters. We're already talking about Barlow, so let's talk about Barlow a little bit more. So Barlow himself is the pinnacle of the story. It's the whole purpose of the story, his character. It does suck that he's only in it for like fucking 10 minutes entirely out of a 3-hour-long movie.
Maybe.
Yeah, but he was a great looking character. He was creepy as shit. I would not want to meet this fucker in an alley. You know what I mean? In the middle of the night, I would shit myself. But yeah, he did. He went out like a bitch. It was the shittiest thing. Here's this vampire character that's got like superhuman strength, and all of a sudden the guy opens up the coffin and is like holding him down, staking him.
Except for that he doesn't have superhuman strength. You know who does? The fucking old antique dealer that deadlifts human beings and throws them on antlers. He was stronger than the fucking vampire.
Fucking Richard Straker?
Right? This old motherfucker just deadlifting people straight up out of the ground and fucking throwing them up on antlers like fucking Jason.
True. I mean, he's got to build up that muscle to bring the bodies to Barlow to feed and shit, right? So, okay, so we got Derek, the main character, the author who comes from the small town and kind of moved away. Wasn't Derek?
The main character's name is Ben.
Ben!
Played by one half of fucking
Ben
Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, shit.
Fucking Hutch.
Oh, man. Okay, Ben
David
Mears.
Soul. Listen to his name is David Soul. Is that not that's a smooth motherfucking 1979 name.
Mm-hmm.
I called him Derek because his last name in the movie is Mears. Derek Mears, played Jason in the remake and shit like that. Never mind. My mind's on Friday 13th, so yeah.
Just
Ben
admit
Mears.
that you fucked up. Just admit
I
that you
do.
fucked it up.
I do. I did fuck up. So Ben Mears.
Apologize to our viewers.
I'm sorry, viewers.
Formally.
Now,
All four of you.
Now apologize to me.
I'm sorry, Tim. All right, Ben Mears, author who leaves town, makes his not a fortune, but he makes his way in life, gets married, she dies, and he comes back to town and he falls in love with the school marm.
A writer that goes back to Maine where he grew up, where something traumatic happened.
No.
Who wrote this?
Stephen King really digging deep.
What?
Deep. That's right.
To be fair, though, I think this was the first time he used that trope, was he not?
I don't know.
Because
This
he
happened
only
before or after it.
because Salem's Lot's one of his earlier books.
Yeah, I think this
When
would
was
have been. I think this would have been the first time that he used that trope.
And then 100 times after that.
Everything's to do with writers going crazy and fucking returning to their hometowns or not, whatever have you. Yeah.
Have you ever played the Stephen King drinking game?
No.
Where you're given like a bingo sheet of all the tropes, and you take a shot every time one of the tropes happen, and you get like a bingo card, and if you get bingo, you win.
What
And
do
if
you win?
you don't, you get alcohol poisoning.
That's when you. Do you win or lose when you get the alcohol poisoning? Because you drank a lot.
Right?
That's almost a win. All right. So, Ben Mears, who every time he appeared on screen, I wanted to say M-O-O-N. That spells moon. Just because of the way that he lunks around in the fucking movie. I'm sorry. He might be one half of Starsky and Hutch, but in this, he seems really fucking weird, man. I don't know. He is. And he's got the fucking patch jackets and all that. I don't know. He was
And he gets his ass beat by a plumber. Sneak attack.
Man, that was a
probably the
bitch
best
move. That was a bitch move. Comes jumping out of the fucking wardrobe. BAM!
Smoked him.
Smoked him.
That surprised me.
It was a quick shot, too, man.
It was.
Like, wow.
Knocked him the fuck out, too. Concussed. He's like, boom, bitch.
Wakes up like 2 days later. Oh, man, that was great. Yes, so then we have once again, we were talking about her earlier, Bonnie Bedelia. Susan Norton, the recently divorced school marm, who he comes across.
You keep calling her marm.
I don't know. It's like one of the. I don't know. It's just the standard trope in movies, I guess. So when he comes across her, she's reading a book, his book, And she opened.
Technically, she wasn't reading his book.
No, she's reading a better book. His book was just there.
And it was opened awkwardly on the ground.
Just laying there, thrown about.
It was his fucking law. He was so smooth. Like, what are the chances? Like, do you think that's what he does to pick up chicks? Like,
definitely.
Well, apparently it worked.
Yeah, it absolutely worked.
Absolutely worked. Okay. Oh man, I mean, this movie was so full of random characters. It's weird. So Josh kind of pointed this out earlier. It's like this movie was just full of fodder characters, and everybody had some sort of a mini story arc that was going all over the place. So you had Fred Willard, the trucker, and his wife.
But I feel like you guys are bringing this up as a fucking negative.
No, I'm not. I'm not bringing this up. But it was, in fact, if you started to get a little bit lost, or you got sidetracked by something, there were times, or you fell asleep like Josh did. There were times when you'd look and you'd say, "Who the fuck was that guy again?"
And they were all fucking blonde dudes. There was like 3 blonde dudes that all looked the same, and I couldn't figure out who was who. I was so confused.
All those blondes look the same to Josh.
They're just blonde with like shoulder-length hair bouncing around.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something to bring up about this movie for anybody who's going to watch it, who hasn't watched it. This becomes one of those movies because of the amount of characters that they have, where you really got to take the time to kind of watch it. Even though it's 3 hours, you got to fucking open the eyes and watch it, because there will be times when it's like, oh, I'm going to go answer the phone. You come back and you go, who the fuck is that? And why is he important to the movie all of a sudden?
Which, again, breaks one of Josh's rules of good horror movies. Keep it simple.
Too many people.
Too many people. Too many places.
Yep. Too many people, too many places. Okay. So, let's jump on to the actual, like, the effects work here for a minute.
We didn't talk about my favorite character in the movie.
Josh, go right ahead. Talk about your favorite character.
The Antiquities guy. He was just the right amount of snarky motherfucker. I loved him. He's what kept me going.
He was a douche and it was funny.
Oh, I loved it. He's verbally pitch-slapping the cop. He's like, you fucking Neanderthal, and he's telling him ciao, and he goes, oh, that's Italian for goodbye.
You speak Italian? He goes, you speak Italian? No.
Love it.
No, he was a weird character too, but he right off the bat he played one of those characters where like for instance when the store was open and everybody was inside and Ben was kind of looking for clues on stuff. Every time anybody would touch something, oh, do you know anything about that? Or, he was just
telling him his stories,
telling him stories and the spiel and everything else. And I mean, he was a pure salesman right from the friggin' get-go on this shit, right?
Love.
But it almost played to the fact that he was a little bit, I know more than you, pompous douchebag.
Well, he had a British accent. That's the total vibe that he had.
So, every time I saw him, all I could see was Vincent Price. And I was like, man, they just got like bogus Vincent Price.
The little mustache?
Yeah. But then I looked into him, and I guess this guy is like mega popular. He has like 155 acting credits. So I don't think it was as much bogus like B-brand fucking Vincent Price as it was just this guy's super popular, and he's been in like 155 movies.
Okay. Yeah, he's been in a ton of shit.
Yeah, he's in like all the way from like 36. I think 36 was his earliest credit. Up until like the mid 80s, late 80s, where I presume he just died.
1984. That's when he died. Yeah. So, okay, fine. Do you have anything else to say about Mr. Straker?
Hey, why? What's the rush? What's the rush? We got 3 hours of content to fucking go through. What's the rush?
Because I'm not recording a 3-hour damn episode on this shit.
Why? It deserves.
It'd probably be more interesting than the 3-hour movie.
Oh gosh.
Watch your poor mouth.
I don't know. I really love this character. I thought he was the best character in the fucking movie myself. I think he was more OP than fucking the Dracula-looking motherfucker. I think he was snarkier than everyone. He had all the best lines.
He was definitely my second favorite character in the movie. But man,
I'd watched 3 hours of this guy. Just selling antiques.
You almost did watch 3 hours of this guy selling antiques. There wasn't much else for content in this movie for the most part. Oh man.
All right, that's it. You can continue.
Okay, we're just gonna move on to the effects work here. So
We didn't even talk about Jeffrey Lewis.
oh my god, if you want to talk about him, go right ahead.
No. Adam's just fucking going through the motions with this episode. I don't want to talk about this movie.
Who's Jeffrey Lewis?
Jeffrey Lewis, he was in fucking my favorite thing that he's been in was Devil's Rejects. He was one half of Banjo and
yes,
fucking what's his name?
Banjo and Sullivan.
Banjo and Sullivan, yeah. Yeah, Jeffrey Lewis.
He was Roy Sullivan.
Yep.
Okay.
I watched it, and it's in my notes, but I'll tell you now. I was watching it, I couldn't place him, but I knew I recognized him. I was like, where the fuck is this guy from? And I refused to look him up on IMDb. I was like, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. And I let it fucking stir in my mind for an entire day. My whole day at work, I'm just thinking, I was like, fuck, where did I see this guy? And then as soon as I started it back up and I saw him, he's like, Devil's Rejects.
Yep.
That's where I recognized him from. Anyways.
Yeah,
not much to say about it.
What are we doing now, Adam? Come on.
How come Dracula's... Fuck, I keep wanting to call him Dracula. How come, what's his name, Barlow? How come his box was all cold? Like when they had it on the truck. Why was it freezing?
I don't know. Spooky.
Is that just one of his powers? It's just super spooky cold.
Well, it's not like he's alive and he's generating heat by any means.
Yeah, but they said it was cold to the touch.
Yeah.
It's just one of those spooky ass things.
Just
all right,
spooky
throw
powers.
out other characters. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about the husband.
You go right ahead.
His name.
Which
the
husband?
You mean the trucker?
Oh, that gets the gun?
Yeah.
The trucker guy? Yeah, he's pretty funny. When he pulls out fucking
Cully.
Willard in the shorts.
Cully?
Yeah, Cully Sawyer.
Cully Sawyer. Yeah, okay. Played by George D'Souza.
When he busts in on Fred and fucking he makes Fred Willard come out and they're talking about his fucking red shorts.
Yeah. Where'd you get those?
Those are nice. Well, admittedly, he did have one of the best scenes in the movie. Probably one of the more memorable ones. With that scene where he takes Fred Willard out into the living room. And he gets him to hold onto the shotgun. Put the shotgun up to his forehead. Hold it steady. See? You do have self-control. This whole fucking thing to make him basically shit himself. And saying, yeah, you can control yourself. I don't know why you can't keep your hands to yourself. Like... But he was a messed up character to begin with. I mean, all he was doing was getting fucking drunk and just... Because
he knew his wife was banging her boss.
Yeah. The poor fella is out there working all night, driving around mysterious cold boxes.
Paying other people to fucking move them.
Right?
Yeah,
outsourcing.
He had shit to do.
Shit to do. Sit on his fucking lawn in his chair drinking beer, waiting for his wife's boss to come home and plow her.
Sitting there with a double barrel.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
All right. Okay, let's move on, Adam.
Moving on, Tim. Moving on.
You don't want to talk about the dog? That's
no, fuck off. That is not a crucial character. Fuck off.
Got about as much screen time as the fucking Barlow.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the dog then. But in terms of effects work. Because the dog appears in a scene in this movie that would have a lot of people go, oh my gosh, they just killed the dog. That's not good. You know, it's that old trope about, you can kill a fucking 50 men, but the moment you kill a dog, you start to lose your audience, right? So the dog, in fact, does become cannon fodder for this film. And
first death.
What was that?
First death?
Yeah, first real death in the movie. You hear it off screen and you find the body. He finds the body a little bit later. And it's kind of weird. It was like he was like thrown or mangled and shit. You see like the fence laying on top of him and stuff. Oh well.
Greetings from Tromaville. I'm Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Tromeo and Juliet and Return to Nukamai, a.k.a. Volume 2, the Troma team and I like to kick back and listen to They Cast from the Coast they cast from the coast is really the best entertainment, the best education, and the best emotional liberation that Lloyd Kaufman can possibly experience. Thank you.
Yeah. So the effects work in this movie. For the most part, I didn't find that it was all that dated. Admittedly.
There was no effects other than Barlow.
Well, you had...
Oh, I guess the vampire kids.
Yeah, so I mean, you had the dead dog character, you know, so obviously there was something sculpted and molded and done for the dead dog. You had the general makeup effects for the human ghoul vampire characters, which was, in my opinion, the eyes are creepy as shit, and I like the fact that it was just kind of an emaciated look with the eyes and everything else. And you had Barlow himself. There wasn't like any real blood or gore in this movie, and when they were talking about, you know, biting people's necks and shit like this, they were always talking about, you know, puncture wounds, but like it's not like it showed like blood pouring out of people's necks and shit like this. It was just...
I couldn't even see the puncture wounds. They're
no.
like, yeah, look, there's puncture wounds. I'm looking on the screen. I'm like, what? Is it just a fucking freckle?
Where? Must have used some syringe-like teeth. Yeah, there was barely anything, and but once again, the actual look and feel of the makeup for these characters is something that has been in Fangoria. It's been brought up, and you see pictures of it posted online all the time about, you know, wicked looking vampire characters and makeups and stuff like this all the time. Regardless of seeing the movie, the context is out there that people actually did enjoy the monster makeup for this movie. So they had to... It just seems to me like they had to go strong somewhere, because there was not a lot in this movie for effects work to go strong with.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
But that's because they did all their kills off screen.
Yeah, the movie really did rely a lot on what you heard, didn't see. All right, Tim.
Shut up. Well, I already said I thought the vampire makeup was fucking real nice. It creeped me out as a kid. It creeped me out as an adult. I thought it was great. What more can I say? Like the fact that they're wearing contact lenses back in 1979. Because, you know, those fuckers were uncomfortable to wear. Especially for, like, the kids. They were floating around outside windows and stuff like that. No, I mean, if anything, like, I can admit that this movie's fucking long and boring. But I watched this movie for the effects to see fucking vampires. And that was great.
I mean, that's what I look for in a movie I recommend. Fucking long and boring and 10 minutes of effects.
Wow, Josh. Just going for the jugular tonight, aren't you?
Just fucking going there.
I don't care.
I don't think Tim disagrees either. Is the best part.
No, I to a point, I do disagree. I absolutely disagree. I wouldn't have fucking recommended it if I didn't like it. But your guys' I don't care what you guys think of it.
Fine and dandy.
But that's the point of the show.
Oh no, that's exactly.
There are garbage fucking movies that I love with all my heart that you guys would never sit through.
Name one.
Evil Dead.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah,
it was an asshole maneuver.
I love Evil Dead. I can't back that up.
I know. Okay. So, if that's the case, then, Tim, do you have any trivia for us?
I got a shit ton of trivia, but you guys don't care. You're just going to rush me because you want this episode to get over.
No, we want to hear trivia. I want to hear trivia. I want to hear something good about this movie.
Okay, so this was the first television miniseries and second film to be based on the writings of the author Stephen King. Although this adaptation offers a dramatically different, let me start over. Although this adaptation differs dramatically in a lot of different areas from the novel, touching on what I was saying earlier about some filler, notably the depiction of the head vampire, Mr. Barlow, is completely different than how Stephen King wrote him. But Stephen King gave thumbs up, basically saying that it looked dope.
Like the Great Liberty.
Yeah. Scenes of the child vampires floating outside of their victims' windows was partly filmed in reverse to give it a more eerily dramatic effect. Additionally, the actors performed on a boom crane rather than being suspended by wires. In an interview with Toby Hooper, Hooper said that the makeup work on Reggie Nalder, Mr. Barlow, had to constantly be touched up because it would crack and fall off while the actor was performing in front of the camera. Hooper said that the film's finale, with Barlow in the coffin, required numerous takes to keep the makeup work intact during shooting.
So that makes sense. That's probably why we didn't see as much of them as we would have liked to.
Because
the effects wasn't
makeup
cooperating.
The original novel established many motifs that Stephen King would use in future novels. It takes place in a small town in Maine, and we all know many stories of Stephen King take place in Maine, Derry, Castle Rock. It features a much larger cast of characters than Carrie did, which came out 3 years before, and most of his later books now have larger casts. The main character, Ben Mears, is a professional writer, another trope that Stephen King would use. Another thing that Stephen King also used to do as a profession was a school teacher, and there's tropes of school teachers in a lot of his books as well. The miniseries was filmed with alternate scenes done with the intention of producing a shorter cut that can be played in European cinemas. This movie was supposed to be made into a movie. And just let me find the...
Was that ever released?
No. George Romero was originally approached to direct the feature film version of this movie. But after announcements of Dracula that came out in 1979 and Werner Herzog's Nosferatu that also came out in 79, Warner Brothers decided to turn Salem's Lot into a TV miniseries. Romero dropped out feeling that he wouldn't be able to make the film the way he wanted with too many restrictions of the television. Like network, basically given notes. I think that's the biggest thing that made this movie kind of suck, was that it was a TV show in 1979. Can you imagine a 1979 movie version of this that was theatrically released? It would have been amazing. And I don't think it would have been as bloated. I mean, easily an hour would have been cut, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's being generous. Most horror movies have 90-minute runtime, so that's an hour and a half that would have been cut.
So did you say this was the first miniseries?
First Stephen King miniseries.
So this took place before It, the miniseries.
Well, the miniseries didn't come out until
like 92 or 90, yeah.
Because I could have sworn I saw a reference to the It miniseries in this film.
It wasn't even
written.
wrote.
Hey?
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe what I'm seeing is just a reference to Jerusalem's Lot, or Salem's Lot, rather.
What else do I have? In an interview with Fangoria magazine, Reggie Nalder, Mr. Barlow, said that he was somewhat disappointed by the film because some of the additional scenes that included his vampire did not make the cut. So apparently there is a version with more versions. Yeah.
Like I said, it's probably the makeup wasn't working properly, like cracking and stuff, and they just made the decision and said, fuck this.
Well, I mean, and I guess from a filmmaker's standpoint, that makes sense, but there's a way around it. Don't have him fully lit.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like, don't have him somewhat in shadows and have his eyes glow, and we all know how I feel about that shit. So, Also in an interview, Reggie Nelder said that the contact lenses and heavy makeup he had to wear for Kurt Barlow was quite painful and took time to get adjusted to. So, that old school kind of fucking makeup. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so much fucking trivia for this movie. Okay, I got one last one. The biggest issue that divides fans of the novel and the miniseries is the fact that Barlow is depicted as a hissing Nosferatu-like monster in this adaptation, as opposed to being a speaking Dracula-like character in the novel. In an interview with Richard Kovics, he said the decision to go with a more terrifying monster figure came out of concerns that a speaking villain would just not be frightening enough, especially to going against the remake of Dracula that came out that same year. Stephen King was against the change at first, but after he saw the footage, he thought it may help the audience focus more on the main characters.
Fair. He still kind of had that ability to, like Dracula, kind of control people with his eyes, with his mind.
Yeah, and you're assuming that he's speaking to them telepathically. Yeah. But I mean, I do agree with the fact that, they should have had him speaking, but he's not Dracula. He's a Nosferatu, which can't change his appearance, so to speak. And I mean, can you imagine that guy trying to speak with those
big teeth,
bang appliances? He would have been talking like this, like there would have been
an Australian accent.
Yeah, with the speech impediment.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, I've both read the book and obviously watched the movie, and whatever. Hopefully, this is one of the ones that gets fucking remade
again.
Like now.
Again. So I assume you've seen the more recent remake.
Yeah.
How was that character handled in the remake?
Barlow?
Did he look the same, more or less?
From the pictures, if I recall, he was pretty much identical.
Yeah, they absolutely took cues from here. Just hold on, I'll bring it up.
Looks blue with a couple of fangs.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Very Nosferatu-esque.
I mean, and the remake, the fucking Kurt Barlow's played by Rutger Hauer, so I mean.
Alrighty.
I'm not seeing. Yeah, no. In the he's basically just Dracula.
Yeah, he's human in the remake. Yeah.
He's not even blue.
No, it's yeah. It follows the novel more than kind of taking its own liberties.
Hey man,
but
Rutger Hauer?
It was also made in fucking 2004. So
yeah.
I mean, the 2004 remake had Rob Lowe, Andre Brower, Donald Sutherland, Dan Beard, Rutger Hauer, James Cromwell. Like, this thing had an all-star cast. I'm gonna look that up and watch that.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. All right, Josh, give us your notes.
All right. This is my first viewing of Salem's Lot. Just to get us into the mood.
Turn down the lights.
This viewing took place March 23rd, 2020 at 7:35 p.m. Little did I know at 7:35 p.m. this is a 3 fucking hour movie, and there's no way in hell I'm staying up till almost 11 o'clock watching this. So, my first note was Guatemala. Okay.
Just Guatemala.
Okay. It's fun to say. Guatemala. Man, they put a ton of spray tan on this poor kid. the first scene you see, this kid is just covered in like bronzer or spray tan. He looked ridiculous. Alright, so the holy water is like Sting from Lord of the Rings. It lights up when vampires are near. Okay. It's unfortunate that never got used again in the movie.
It did at the end.
The very end. It's in Maine. Take a shot. Which is the game you play when you watch Stephen King movies and you see a trope. You gotta take a shot. 2 years later, literally nothing was explained here. Why did we have to jump ahead 2 years? House looks very Addams Family and Bates Motel-esque. Yeah, that first time jump, completely unnecessary. It didn't set the ground for anything. Unnecessary.
Yep.
Man, Fred Willard looks so young, I almost didn't recognize him. And I just wrote, every time I see this guy, all I can think of is him eating Triscuits. The main character's a writer. Take a shot. The score is a little much. That's something we didn't really discuss. The fucking music score on this film? Tim, buddy. Like, this is top tier cheese. It's top tier cheese. Like, it's so over the fucking top.
Whatever, Josh.
She's going to the lake. She's DTF. He's gonna bust his wife. Shaking up with Fred Willard. Shacking up with Fred Willard. Okay, I think I'm confused. There's two blonde guys with hair down to their necks. Hair past their ears. I thought they were the same person. I need to reevaluate everything that's happened in this film so far. I literally thought Roy from fucking Jesus Christ.
See, I know what he's gonna say, but
I know. House of a Thousand Corpses.
Devil's Rejects.
Devil's Rejects.
There you go. Roy from Devil's Rejects. I thought he was the main character. I thought the two of them were the same person.
But they don't look the same at all.
I know. My vision is horrible. And at this point, my eyes were falling asleep.
And your attention span's gone.
My attention span was gone. I was like, man, why does this character have a dog now? And it's like, oh, wait, no, it's not even the same person at all. And I just wrote, The Glip Boys. That was the name of Buddy's little friends, the theater kids' friends. The Glip Boys.
Yeah, the brothers.
What's up with the dummy and a noose in Mark's room? Did you guys see that? Yep. His room's like decorated with all this cool shit, and then he just has this fucking dummy and a noose.
Random. He's expressing himself.
Now the writer is talking about a ghost he saw when he was a kid. Take a shot. Now the writer is talking about how the ghost was hanging. Does this have anything to do with the dummy hanging in Mark's room?
Ooh.
No, it didn't. Never heard an owl before. What the fuck? These Gloop boys are sheltered as shit.
Do you want to know what, though? I love that they used that old school fucking owl sound effect, though. Like, there's something very Halloween to me. Yeah. Like, I love it.
Oh shit, they forgot the locks. And you just fucking threw it in.
I love that. Fuck this!
Whatever was in that crate busted the shit out of it. I like your shorts.
Fred Willard.
At this point, I moved my cursor because I figured, about halfway through the movie. I wrote, Jesus Christ, this movie's fucking 3 hours long. Nothing's happened yet. Classic vampire scratching at the window scene. Whenever I see this scene, I think of that Simpsons Treehouse of Horror.
Yep.
Don't touch that. Guy proceeds to touch it. This guy is punking the cop off big time. Ciao.
You speak Italian?
How does everyone know who's going to the lake and when? Jesus Christ. There's a whole bunch of little old ladies watching out the window. They all seem to know when this poor bastard's going to the lake. Like they got GPS on Buddy's Jeep.
Oh, when the guy's about to fucking hook up with Gennaro?
The poor guy just out there trying to go to the lake, and all these people are like, I saw you down at the lake. I heard you were down at the lake. I said,
Lake.
Glass IVs. Yep, this is old as dirt. This fucking movie. That's Italian for go fuck yourself, I wrote. That's would have been the appropriate line that they should have used. This kid knows better than to let a fucking vampire in his bedroom. And then he didn't. I was like, good.
Yeah, especially if that guy... do you know how fucking redundant that would have been? Like, this guy's like a horror fan, right?
And he lets the vampire in. I was so ready for it. I was like, here we go. Fucking stupid. But no, you earned a point back. They clawed a point back on that guy. LOL, the plumber sneak attack. Love that fucking scene. He just bursts out of a fucking wardrobe and knocks the guy fucking down.
Like a bitch shot, man.
Now, unfortunately, at this point is when I fell asleep. From here on, I'm watching at 3:44 p.m. today. First note was, it's Roy from Devil's Rejects. This has been bothering me all fucking day, and I just saw him and realized. I wrote, the drama kid is delivering these lines like fucking Microsoft Sam. I know you said the acting's pretty good, but there's like a solid 20 minutes where this guy is just reading lines. I'm pretty sure there's a cue card being held up for him to read.
Absolutely.
This town has a population of 2,000, and they're all in this fucking antique store. This place is bumping.
2013.
13. Yeah. It seemed like the entire town was in this antique store. I guess they didn't really get a whole lot of new stuff going on, so it's pretty exciting for them. I love this antique dealer. He's just cheeky and asshole enough. He's just cheeky and being an asshole enough. The glowing eyes is a really cool effect, and honestly, it was probably an amazing effect at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really? The old teacher is having a heart attack? Finally, the reveal. We're in like 2.5 hours into this movie. I get to see what he looks like. I've seen hundreds of images of this vampire, but I've never seen it in context. Nice to know where he finally belongs. I wrote very good design and talked a little bit about how you like Nosferatu. The master is kind of weak. He just knocks people's heads together to kill them. He doesn't seem to have any powers yet. And I wrote popsicle stick crucifixes. And at this point, I fell asleep again at 4 p.m. today. So notes forward are about 4:20. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, this quote is probably the most used quote from the Bible in movies, I would think. I hear it all the time in movies, and it's always good.
And it's also fucking Coolio's fucking...
Yeah.
Valley of the shadow of death.
I just wrote a what the fuck. I don't remember what happened, what caused it, but there was a what the fuck. So this is why the what the fuck. If a cross touches a ghoul, they vanish.
Oh,
that's one
the
of the
tongue
rules
depressor.
Film, I guess. Yeah.
The tongue depressors.
They stuck the popsicle stick cross to the girl's head, and she vanished into the nether realm, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a turned over red tricycle, and I thought this was a reference to the turned over red tricycle in It, the miniseries. But maybe the miniseries is a reference to his first miniseries.
Maybe.
Because it's the exact same tricycle in the exact same position, and it's like the exact same scene layout. I'd be curious to know if it's another one of, if it's in any of other films. Maybe he had a red trike when he was a little kid. Who keeps a drawer of marbles and rats? Is that like the vampire equivalent to a junk drawer with dead batteries and Tupperware lids? I wish they got Vincent Price to play the dealer. It's clear that he's designed after that character. And then I looked him up later and found out that he was actually super popular. Oh, they tied him up. Too bad that he can't be withheld by knots. He can get out of any knot, as it was clearly described earlier in the film.
Foreshadowing.
Dun dun dun. I love how this one guy is just packing up and leaving town. He's the only fucking smart guy in town. He'll probably just end up moving 2 towns over to Derry or Castle Rock, though.
Shit.
They should probably just bring a gun. I mean, they are going to fight a mortal guy in addition to the vampire. Oh shit, he did bring a gun. Good for him for not falling for stupid horror movie logic. I don't think he's mortal. If so, he's buff AF. Yep, definitely not mortal. Just took 4 gunshots like a boss. Wait, what? He died. How the fuck did he deadlift that guy if he wasn't immortal? Why did it take until the last 18 minutes for this movie to get interesting? World's shittiest lock is on this door. It literally took 3 swings from a hammer to open it.
See, and you know what? At that point, I was like, okay, what would make more sense than him actually breaking the lock open is like the screws coming out with the lock, right? And that's assume it even showed it once, but then he goes and fucking pulls open the lock. And I'm like,
Jesus, he threw the fucking kid. That looked like it hurt more than the parents got their heads knocked together.
Yeah!
Killed them. This kid just got thrown across the room.
That was funny.
What the fuck? Does this vampire have like an adamantium skeleton or something? Why is it taking them so long to get the cross into his heart? Or get the stake into his heart?
Did take a lot of hits.
I wrote, nice dissolve effects on the vampire. The others will be on the hunt for us. Let's go to Guatemala. And then I wrote, vampire bride situation, question mark. The next one was, poor girl got played.
Poor girl got played.
Then I wrote, what are these 2 goofs going to do with the rest of their lives? Just run around South America waiting for more vampires to find them?
Yep, pretty much.
And I wrote, okay, so I guess they're going to end the movie with a skull moon transition. Okay. And that's it.
Those are the notes from Josh.
Those are the notes of my first viewing of Salem's Lot.
Okay. Wow. That's a lot to take in.
It was. It took me three separate moments of consciousness, but I got there.
He got there. He got through it. Okay. We're going to break this up a little bit. Josh, why don't you give us your final thoughts on the movie?
Okay, final thoughts. The old movie is old. It's not really scary. And it's kind of boring. If you give this an hour, you're literally asking people to sit into a room for 3 hours to watch 20 minutes of good horror. Good horror. There is 20 minutes of good horror in this film. I have to tell people that.
But that's what I did.
I know.
You were legally obligated.
There's good effects for 20 minutes worth of the movie.
Okay.
Honestly, it's probably a rated S for shit, but out of respect for the great Stephen King and hopes that his story somehow was told poorly in this fashion, I'm going to rate it a G. Because I think there is a good story in there. I think there's some good effects, but fuck is this movie boring. It's so fucking boring.
Okay, G.
That's where I lie. A G.
G.
It's a good movie.
What can I say that Josh didn't already say? I'll be the first to admit this movie is long, and it has far too much fucking. It's got far too much. But with that being said, it's not bad. Like, it's long, but if you got rid of some of the fucking length, like, it's not a bad movie. Yes, some of the acting is cheesy. There's far too many fucking side plots and all this stuff going on. But I mean, it's a modern vampire tale that was original. Like, it wasn't retelling fucking Dracula, it wasn't Nosferatu, whatever, right? Like, it was a modern telling. You have the fucking excellent Toby Hooper fucking directing it. So one thing that I do wish that it was a little bit more gritty. I feel that this movie, like I said earlier, would have been better if it was just a theatrical movie as opposed to a miniseries. Oh, I'm sorry, Adam. Am I boring you?
No.
Oh, you're just looking up at your phone?
No, I got a message from the wife.
Oh.
Proceed.
Oh.
She hasn't been feeling good. She was just telling me that she's going to bed.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Please proceed, Tim.
Anyways, I feel that I agree with Josh that there is 20 minutes of fucking awesome vampire shit. I feel that the moments when it fucking is good, it's really good. Given the fact that it was made in 1979, I feel that the effects were fantastic. The makeup was great. Mr. Harlow is the reason why I wanted to watch this movie again, and I feel that he didn't disappoint. His character could have been a little bit more OP, but he wasn't. But that's okay. I rate this fucking G. I rated it G. It's good. It's good.
Oh man. Okay.
Were you guys expecting me to go R?
Definitely.
At least
you
a
make
PG.
me watch this stupid movie and you give it a G?
It's good.
Okay, fine.
Barely.
It's good.
Just because Stephen King's name's on it?
Nope. Stephen King had nothing to do with this movie whatsoever, aside from it being adapted from his book.
Just like The Shining.
Just like The Shining, just like fucking, all his movies back then. Like, he had nothing to do with them, really. And given the fact that this is the second movie and the first miniseries, it's okay, and it was on TV, and it wasn't that bad. Like, yes, it was fucking way too long, but it wasn't that bad.
Could you imagine watching part 1 on TV and just being like, huh, nothing happened this entire show that I just watched?
Yeah.
You'd question whether you wanted to watch part 2.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And then can you imagine just flipping the channel surfing, and you come across part 3, and you're like, fuck, this movie is thebomb.com.
I think it was an hour and a half each part, because there's only 2 parts. Yeah. There's only 2 parts. It was, yeah. But I mean, the thing is like, you can watch modern movies that are 3 hours long, and like, there's a lot of modern ones that I'm not necessarily bored in, especially like, the adaptation of It or Dr. Sleep. Like, I wasn't bored in either one of those, and though they were fucking super long. I just feel that it's very much a product of his time, but I'm not gonna, basically shit on it because it was made in 1979. I thought all the aspects that are good are fucking really good. It's way too long, and that's the only reason I give it a G.
You shat on it equally amount as I did, because you gave it the same rating. So
yeah, but I'm still saying that it's not I would never fucking rate it S for shit, because it's not a shit movie. It's just the only problem that I had with it was too long. That's it. That's it.
And it was boring.
Well, that goes part and parcel with the fact that it was too long.
Okay.
Okay, right, Adam. Where do you sit on the shitometer?
All right, so it really takes a lot to make a movie rated S for shit, in my opinion. Like, I really got to sit there and I got to think about that. And the movie has to have absolutely no redeeming quality. So I can honestly tell you this movie is not rated S for shit for me. This movie...
I totally would have just fucking logged off. I'd quit the show. Like, you're just trying to be edgy and different.
No, I got to be truthful. I can't rate this movie S for shit because it did have some redeeming qualities, and we talked about these during the episode tonight. The vampires look cool, Barlow looked cool. There was a couple of really fun scenes in the movie, whether they were supposed to be fun and funny or not, but they were good. I agree. There was about 15 to 20 minutes of actual badassery in this movie, like that made it like really fucking worth it. I think in the end, this movie could have pulled off as a 1.5 hour flick easily, and would have been probably a movie that sits there on a regular viewing for me. But I can't sit through another 3 hours of this again. There's no fucking way. I agree with the sentiments that it's just too fucking long. And it kind of breaks my heart because Tim brought up a big point there earlier. Tobe Hooper made my absolute favorite movie of all time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Greatest fucking movie ever made, in my opinion. And, you know, to see this as a product, but it makes more sense knowing with the fact that, you know, you're under the constraints of certain things that are occurring with the network. You're under the constraint. I see what the fuck he's doing. Tim with his phone out.
I did get a text message, but
yeah, I know, I heard it. You're just making it very pronounced.
Yeah.
But under the under the constraints of the network and what you have to abide by, I can imagine that it must have been a shit show for them to try to pull this off. I think if Tobe Hooper would have been given, or George Romero if he would have done it, the full reins to do a fucking movie theatrical run, holy shit, this probably would have been amazing for its time and probably still would have held up. All right, it just, there's no two ways around this.
Well, that was one of the things that I was saying, was the special effects hold up.
Absolutely they do. Absolutely. So the movie is a bit of a product of its time, but the movie is also a product of the dumbass requirements of the networks is really what it comes down to. They had certain things that they wanted to pull off, and that unfortunately took the artistic view and fucking put it in the grinder and shit it out the other side. It sucked that way. Like I said, there are some things that are redeemable about this movie. I was watching the movie going, I don't want to rate this S for shit. Oh, look, there's something good. I don't want to rate this S for shit. Oh, look, there's something good. Like, I just kept going back and forth that way. And in the end, yes, I'm going to give it a G. It's good. Like, even if it's just to tell people, fucking watch 5 minutes, skip 10. Watch 5, skip 10.
No, not even that. Just go on YouTube.
Yeah, right? Watch the fan.
I guarantee there's a fucking montage of like all the YouTube, Salem's Lot, Mr. Barlow. Like, I guarantee like all the fucking vampire shit would just come up.
Fan edit or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes,
I was saying it should be a 22-minute fucking episode of like Twilight Zone or something.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, gentlemen, that gives us 3 Gs for our rating. So this movie is good, and you know, I wouldn't go out and say, "Oh my God, everybody, this is the top of your vampire film list. You got to watch this, and it's recommended." No, but it's probably something that, as a horror fan, at one point or another, you should probably have said that you watched this.
Well,
yeah, probably.
Even being a Stephen King fan.
Oh,
like,
100%.
It's yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah. So with that, gentlemen, we've given it 3 Gs. We've kind of poked and prodded at this film, and we've come to the conclusion that Barlow's kick ass, but all that fucking extra filler shit in this movie kind of killed it in the end. But we're all in agreement, and that kind of means that we've come to the close, gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, this episode will be available on all the major podcasting platforms that we provide these episodes on. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, etc. We're also on Facebook. Come and check us out on Facebook, like the Misunderstood Art Company. And we got a discussion group that's up and running now as well for all things cult and horror on Facebook. So check us out and discuss things. Drop your comments below on YouTube or throw them to us on Facebook and let us know what you think. Patreon. We are on Patreon, by the way. So why don't you do us a favor and open up your hearts and your wallets. Become a Patreon of the show today. And until next time, Tim.
Stay spooky. Everybody. Not just some of you, like everybody. Stay spooky.
Josh.
Ciao.
Oh,
Is that Italian?
You see, I was going to say you speak Italian. All right. Good night, everybody. See you later. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.